Scorpio, welcome to your monthly horoscope for April 2026. My name's Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer. This month is really about your routines, your work, your health, your mental state, and also your relationships. There's a lot happening behind the scenes for you and a lot of internal change. But by the end of the month, things start shifting externally, especially in relationships and conversations that affect your future. So let's get into it. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. Okay, so I break these horoscopes down by week and I select a chart for each week to give you a visual. So as soon as we come into the month on the 1st, we have the full moon in Libra. And this is happening in your 12th house. So, this is a very emotional, very internal full moon for you. The 12th house is the house of endings, closure, healing, and the subconscious, and things, people, places that are hidden. So, this is about what's going on behind the scenes. This full moon could bring something to light emotionally. You may be releasing something or letting go of a pattern, a mindset of fear, or even a situation that has been draining you. This is a very deep emotional clearing full moon for you. If you want to take a deeper dive into this full moon energy, you can check out the full moon forecast that's on my channel. I get into the chart for the full moon and also all 12 rising signs. Then on April 3rd, we have Mercury forming the final trine to Jupiter. This is a beautiful energy. This is happening between your fifth house and your ninth house. This can bring good news, creative inspiration, romantic conversations, travel plans, or even teaching, learning, or sharing your ideas. This is a very supportive energy for expressing yourself, especially emotionally and creatively. And since this connects back to the Mercury retrograde period, something is finally making sense. You're finally gaining clarity and understanding with something you've been sitting with and possibly contemplating over the last couple of months. This can even be a conversation coming full circle, or maybe you hearing of something back in February and then in March, and now there's answers, or you have direction, or there's clarity. Also, on the 3rd, we have Venus squaring Pluto. And Venus is in your seventh house of relationships, squaring Pluto in your fourth house of home, family, property, real estate, and emotional foundation. This can bring intensity in relationships or family dynamics. You may be seeing someone's true colors or dealing with jealousy, control, or power dynamics, especially when it has to do with relationships or family members. So, this could be quite intense. Pluto is your co ruler. Venus is the ruler of your seventh house. So, this very well can be power and control dynamics within partnerships, within relationships, or a one on one connection. And then on April 5th, we have the sun forming a square to Jupiter. The sun is in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine. Jupiter is in your ninth house of higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, your belief systems. When we have squares to Jupiter, this is where we have to be careful of overwhelming ourselves or overcommitting to things or overpromising. This is when we can get in way over our head, especially with the sun being in your sixth house of your daily routine. This is where maybe you're doing too much and you're just feeling very overwhelmed. And then on April 6th, we have Venus forming a sextile to the north node and a trine to the south node. And so Venus is in your seventh house of relationships and is the ruler of your seventh house of relationships, forming a sextile to the north node here in your fifth house and a trine to the south node in your 11th house. And so I would say that this more than likely has to do with a one-on-one connection or partnership because it's Venus. And we want to remember that the lunar nodes are very fated, very karmic. This is a part of your destiny, whatever is showing up on this day. So this is a day to be aware of your surroundings. Who are you coming in contact with? Who are you communicating with? What is coming to your awareness? Sextiles bring in opportunities. And so, I mean, the fifth house can be dating or meeting a romantic connection if you're single. So that's definitely a possibility. You could be meeting somebody on this day or somebody coming into your life. This could even be a friendship. And then we get to the second week of April. And on the 9th, we finally have Mercury leaving the post shadow phase. We've been in this Mercury retrograde energy for the middle of February, really. And so this is going to be nice. You've had Mercury retrograde in your fifth house of children and creativity and passion, romance, hobbies, interests. And so there's been something you've been reevaluating, reconsidering, or sitting with, maybe having to address. And so now with Mercury kind of clear that retrograde phase, there's going to be clarity in this area of life. Also on the ninth, we have Mars entering Aries. So Mars entering the sixth house of work, health, and daily routine, this is where you really want to be careful of burnout or conflict at work. This is also your house of health, and so this is where you can be overworking yourself. So this is a time where you just want to have that self-awareness. However, this is also a time where you can be super motivated and you're ready to go after what you want in your business, in your career. You're ready to tackle all those tasks. However, I would say you probably have a very busy schedule and you probably have a lot going on. This is also when you can have that energy to maybe put those new routines into motion. Like if you wanted to start a new workout routine or health routine of some kind. The best thing to do is to channel this energy into productivity and health and try not to overwhelm yourself because this is where you can experience burnout. So you know that Mars is going to be in that sixth house. You have that awareness. So make sure that you are managing your time and giving yourself some downtime. Now, on April 13th, Mars is going to form a conjunction to Neptune. This can bring confusion at work. This can also actually give you a lack of energy. Neptune blurs boundaries and sometimes makes things really confusing. So, I mean, you could be confused with something at work or with a coworker or employee. Maybe you're not seeing something clearly. This is also a day where you could just feel energetically drained. And so, just mark this day on the calendar. If you're feeling off, it's probably that Mars conjunction in Neptune. Also, remember, Mars is your co ruler. So, you are going to feel this more so than the other signs. So, just know this is a day where you can experience confusion, low energy, lack of direction, or just feeling kind of blah. Don't push yourself to make any big decisions. And then on April 14th, Mercury is going to enter Aries. So, as you can see, as we move through the month, there's a lot of focus in that sixth house of work, health, and your daily routine. Now, Mercury entering Aries, this is where you start to think about work, routines, and health more. You could be having a lot of conversations at work or, dealing with a lot of job applications, whether it's that you're applying for a job or maybe you have a business and others are applying, to work with you. This is where you can be creating a new schedule. This is also where you could be focusing more on your health and maybe discussing more about your health. And then we get to the third week of April, and Scorpio, this is the most important week for you. On the 16th, we have the sun forming a conjunction to Chiron. This is in your sixth house. And so this is a day where you could be healing burnout or healing your body or fixing your daily routine in some way or addressing your stress, creating some type of stress management. This could be when you're changing your work environment so that you feel better. Chiron transits often correlate with healing through awareness and change. And so this is where there can be an activation or a trigger. So something could come to a head on this day. If you have been overworking yourself, this is the day where you can just break and then you realize, okay, I need to fix my routine. I need to start, walking for 30 minutes every day so that I can relieve some of this stress. Also, on April 16th, we have Mercury forming a conjunction to Neptune in your sixth house. And so, this is where there can be confusion, lack of direction, brain fog. When we have Mercury, which rules our mind and our way of thinking, how we process information, this is where we can experience brain fog or we can have a hard time focusing. And so, this is a day, just don't push yourself. Again, it's with the sun conjunction of Chiron too. So it might be a day where you just kind of chill out, calm down. Don't push yourself at work. Don't push yourself to make any decisions or do anything big. Just try and, take it easy if need be. And then on the 17th, we have the new moon in Aries at 27 degrees. Again, this is in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine. And so this is a great time to set intentions for a new job, a new routine, a new health chapter. If that's something that you want to do, this is the perfect time to set your intentions for goals that you want to accomplish over the next 6 months when it has to do with your work, when it has to do with your day to day tasks, what you're doing on a day to day basis, your schedule, your health. This is literally a reset of your daily life. And then on April 19th, we have the sun entering Taurus. So this is lighting up your seventh house of relationships and one on one connections. And we also have Mars forming a conjunction to Saturn. This is a very serious work transit because it's in your sixth house. This is both malefic planets. Coming together in Aries. And Mars is the more prominent planet just because Mars is at home in Aries and Saturn is at fall in Aries. So we do want to watch for conflict at work. We do want to watch for heavy workload, overworking, doing too much. This is a good time to try to tap into that Saturn energy and create some discipline, especially around your health and your work routine. This is also where you could just feel really tired, but you know that you're building something really important. Like maybe you've been really focused at work or with your personal business and you're, go, go, go. But this is a day where you could feel exhausted. We always have to watch with Mars for impatience, impulsiveness, and anger, aggression, and conflict. And so, this is a day where there could be arguments or conflict with coworkers or employees. And so you also want to watch for that. And then on April 20th, Mercury is going to form a conjunction to Mars. And this is kind of adding to that Mars energy that's in the sixth house. And so, again, you could just be really, focused on work and just go, go, go. And your mind is overworking, overloaded. Just definitely make sure you're taking a time out. You're not overworking yourself at this time because, again, you can experience some burnout. You also want to be careful of, arguments and anger, aggression, conflict, arguments with coworkers, because it's Mercury, it's our communication. You could feel really impulsive on this day or really impatient, really irritable. And then we get to the fourth week of the month, and on the 23rd, we have Venus forming a conjunction to Uranus. Uranus is still going to be in your seventh house at this point. I did select this chart after Uranus enters Gemini because I wanted to get Uranus in Gemini. But when Venus forms the conjunction to Uranus, it's still going to be in your seventh house. So Venus rules your seventh house of relationships and also your 12th house. And so this can be something very unexpected around partnerships. This could be, a sudden breakup or a sudden relationship developing. This could be a surprise within a relationship. This could be, meeting someone new, very unexpected. This is, that Uranus vibe. So there's something unexpected, something shocking, possibly even something chaotic. And then on the 23rd or 24th, Venus is going to enter Gemini. And I put 23rd, 24th because at my location, Venus is literally entering Gemini at midnight. So depending on where you are in the world, it'll be either late on the 23rd or early on the 24th. And so you have Gemini in that eighth house of shared resources, your partner's finances, debt, taxes, investments, inheritance. The eighth house also rules intimacy and emotional and psychological transformation. It's a very deep house. So, with Venus entering your eighth house, you can be creating more intimate connections. You could be bringing more money in from outside somewhere, client work, investments. On the 25th, Uranus is going to enter Gemini. And now this area of life is going to be going through massive change over the next 8 years. We want to remember that Gemini is not about sudden change, within a day, a week, a month, or even a year. This is going to be gradual change. So, this area of life is going to look very different for you than it does right now, 8 years from now, because Uranus is going to completely enlighten and awaken this area of life in some way, whether it's that completely, you know, transform you on a deep emotional and psychological level. Uranus in the eighth house could be very healing for you. I am going to be posting a separate forecast going much deeper into this Uranus and Gemini energy. So make sure you watch for that because I'm going to talk about how this can show up for us collectively and individually for each rising sign. So make sure you watch for that. But Uranus in the eighth house, I mean, wherever Uranus is transiting in our chart is going to go through, huge change over the next 8 years. Also on the 25th, we have the sun forming a square to Pluto. So the sun is in your seventh house of relationships and Pluto is in your fourth house. And so this is tension with relationships and home or relationships and family members or one-on-one connections and home. The sun also rules your 10th house of career and public reputation. So this can also have to do with conflict or tension or challenge going on within your career. This is a day you could feel overwhelmed. Again, it's Pluto, so we do want to watch for power and control dynamics, manipulation. And then on April 26th, we have Mercury squared Jupiter and Venus sextile Neptune. So Mercury is still in your sixth house of work, health, daily routine, squaring Jupiter in the ninth house. This is where you want to be careful of feeling mentally overwhelmed. Again, squares to Jupiter can make us feel overwhelmed. There's too much of something. And so again, this is where you could be doing too much. You're starting to feel drained. You're starting to feel it's like you've committed to too many tasks. You've overpromised too much. So just be a bit mindful of that throughout the entire month of promising or overcommitting yourself because by the end of the month, you can experience, a lot of overwhelm. And so Venus sextile Neptune can be really nice for creative projects or even romance, especially with Venus in that eighth house of intimacy, sextile Neptune. However, we do want to make sure that I mean, that's the higher expression. We always have to look at both the higher and the lower expressions of these planets. This can be that maybe you're not seeing somebody clearly. Somebody can be deceptive, or you're seeing somebody with rose colored glasses. That's something we do have to be careful with when we're dealing with Neptune. And so this is a day where you just trust your gut, trust your intuition with whatever it is that you're navigating. And then on the 28th, Venus is going to form a trine to Pluto. And this is really deeply transformational. Venus, especially in that eighth house of psychological and emotional transformation, forming a trine to Pluto in your fourth house of deep emotional foundations. There's something about this day that could be very transformational for you. So, yeah, I would. This could be really powerful. This could be a really powerful day for you, Scorpio. This can be very transformational for your finances, for relationships, for deep emotional connection within partnership. And then on the 29th, Venus is going to form a T square to the lunar nodes. The lunar nodes are very fated, very karmic. Venus being in your eighth house, and the ruler of your seventh house of relationships. I would say this could have to do with a relationship or finances. You could have two paths that you need to decide. This is a T square is where you're pulled in two different directions and you need to make a choice. The south node is your comfort zone and what you're used to, and the north node is a new fated direction you're meant to experience, you're meant to move into. And so something can come to a head on this day where you're having to make a decision. This can also be something that you've been navigating for over a year now since the lunar nodes entered Virgo and Pisces. So, Scorpio, April is a life restructuring month for you. The major themes for this month is ending a chapter, possibly starting a new job or routine, your work, your health schedule, your relationships may change. There could be some financial and emotional transformation and really deep healing. And so this is a month to rest and release. April 17th is a good day to start your new routines. April 19th is the best day to expect hard work. And then April 27th is the best day to expect surprises within relationships. And April 25th is the best day to expect financial changes. This month is about restructuring your daily life, your relationships, and your finances. So, Scorpio, I really hope this helps you navigate the energy for this month. If you want to book a one on one pre recorded reading with me, I have all the information in the description below. I structure my readings the same way I structure my YouTube videos, only this is your chart instead of monthly or a lunar chart. And so I walk you through how I'm putting the pieces together. So, not only is it a reading, but it is a learning and teaching tool that you can keep forever. So if you want to book a reading with me, the information is in the description below. You can book a birth chart masterclass, solar return, or lunar return. Also, join me on Patreon. Join the Cosmic Circle. I am in the process of building a community where I have exclusive content and exclusive bonus episodes to my podcast. My podcast is Adina's Diary. I discuss toxic healing from toxic relationships, narcissistic abuse. And so if that's something that aligns with you, come and build a community with me. I have PDF guides and tons of stuff on there to help through, this type of healing. I tell my story on the podcast. The podcast is actually on YouTube if you want to check it out. But on Patreon, I have bonus episodes and also exclusive content on there because it's kind of a safe space. But you can find Adina's Diary on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Podbean, and YouTube. And so if that aligns, make sure you check that out. And so, Scorpio, I hope you have a fabulous month. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and I will connect with you in the next one.